Welcome back, everybody. Glad to have you here today on our second Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. As I said yesterday, we are finally caught up with questions. Now we're only about 5 weeks or so out from when you write in at stephencabral.com/askcabral. So really happy about that, because for years we were 12 to 14 weeks out. Now we've cut that in half. Excited about that. Again, I appreciate everybody being a part of this amazing community. And just once again, thank you so much. All right, let's dive into today's questions. The first one on all things wellness, body transformation, anti-aging. First one's from Melissa. Well, let's see what Melissa has to say. Melissa says, I've been told that vitamin D is toxic and a possible carcinogen. That it can be bad for cholesterol and other things. Can you elaborate on this? I can only use vegan supplements due to a mammal allergy. And the vitamin D I use is made from this. Am I using this when I should not be? Okay. Cholecalciferol is the form of the vitamin D that you're talking about. So let me just break it down a little bit more. I have a whole podcast on this. So what I always want people to do is, if possible, they can always ask at cabralsupportgroup.com, or even before that, if they just kind of want to take matters in their own hands, go to stephencabral.com/podcasts, and you can literally just type in vitamin D, and you'll be able to see all my podcasts on that. So I did a whole breakdown of how vitamin D is absorbed or blocked. I have vitamin D cofactors, so much more. So the vitamin D that you take, vitamin D3, is actually the fully formed version that you would get as you process it from like the sun, right? That's how humans naturally would get vitamin D. And so it's an amazing thing that we're able to take that in nutritional supplement form for people that, one, don't get a tan, or two, can't get one because they live above the Atlanta-Georgia line, at least in the United States, for about 6 months of the year. Even more, like especially the further north you get. So is it dangerous? No, this is just something that's potentiated and perpetuated online. It really is. So you get one person who sounds very confident in what they're saying, that this was used as rat poison, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it is. And so could many other things. Meaning, like, if you take something that, let's just say that you took 100x. Remember, how much does a mouse weigh? Like a couple of half a pound, right? Like a very little. And you gave it 10x the amount that you would even use for a human. Could it be used as a poison? Of course. Like anything could, even for humans. Just keep that in mind, right? So that's a bit outlandish. That all of that is really nonsense. Okay, now can it affect cholesterol? No, but it could affect the heart, right? This is why, or the arteries. This is why you don't use single supplements. You always use something like a daily nutritional support or a daily activated multi with things. And the reason is you need the cofactors. So vitamin D, especially when you use a high dose. I've done so many shows on this. Conventional medicine gives out vitamin D in 10,000 to 50,000 to 100,000 IU dosages. That's not how you should do it. That is too high a dose, and that pulls calcium into the bloodstream, which can harden the arteries. What do we do in natural health? Well, we don't treat things like drugs. How much would you get from the sun? Well, somewhere around like 2,000 to 5,000 IUs a day. Yeah, that's about it. That would bring you back into normal range. How do you know if you're in normal range? You can run the vitamin D test. Very simple, very straightforward. You can do it right at home. All right, so you want to be between 50 and 80 on that lab, and that can tell you exactly how much vitamin D you need. Now, vitamin D, in order for it to not draw in calcium into the bloodstream, it needs magnesium. It actually needs some calcium, and it needs vitamin K2, and just a couple other factors. Well, if you use daily nutritional support or use a daily activated multi, you're getting some magnesium and you're getting the K2 right in that. Now, you can add more if you want, but you're going to be all set. So we also have a vegan vitamin D. We have both. We have a regular vitamin D, and then we have a vegan vitamin D. Either one will work. We've tested both, and you can be, rest assured you're going to be at the right amount for you. So hopefully that was helpful. Again, I can't give you any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis, but I always want to break down, like, what's the truth and what's not. Because I have no dog in the race. I'm completely unbiased. You can use vitamin D from any company. It's an inexpensive product. Like, I'm not trying to sell you vitamin D, but I do want to give you the actual truth and not just, an Instagram influencer who's looking for more followers, which unfortunately is a lot of what we see here today. All right, Rhonda's up next. Hey doc, I'm a big fan of your show and relatively new to the living of a more holistic lifestyle. Your show has been an amazing resource for me. Thanks, Rhonda. I appreciate that. We moved recently and our new yard has several patches of poison ivy. I'm extremely sensitive to the oil, one small point of contact, and I swear the ivy rash is all over my body in the blink of an eye. What do you recommend to treat the rash? And what do you think would be the safest method for eliminating any growth around the yard? Any tips would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so my recommendation for getting rid of poison ivy, this is what my wife and I use in Maine. So basically we just use water with white vinegar plus dish soap. And that's what we use. We spray it all over the poison ivy. And then when the poison ivy is dead, so the leaves literally dry up, you have to get rid of the vines, which basically, it's not a vine, but it is a vine, I think, poison ivy, but I'm not sure. That regardless of that, it grows like a weed, like a vine, and you need to pull it all the way out of the ground. So put on gloves and pull it all the way out of the ground. Now, you can also hire a gardener. Gardeners have sometimes been exposed to poison ivy many times, and they're somewhat desensitized. Some, they just literally don't get it. I know people that just don't get it. We have an amazing person that helps us in Maine, and they just don't get it anymore. Anyway, that's what we do. So the white vinegar alone will work. There's another nice one. You can find it online as well. It's just a poison ivy recipe that includes white vinegar and dish soap. Okay, now what if you do get poison ivy? The best things that I've seen that work naturally are oatmeal, like an oatmeal pack. Okay, so you're gonna dry it out because what you need to do is get the oil off your skin. The reason why poison ivy will spread, you get the oil on your skin and the oil hasn't come off yet, so it continues to spread. So people use rubbing alcohol. They'll use bentonite clay. That's another one. They will use baking soda or oatmeal, like an oatmeal bath. All of those things will work. Aloe vera can be really nice as it's helping to heal, and then a little tea tree oil. Okay, so there's also a product online that is not a clean product, but it helps with poison ivy and helps to get rid of it really fast. It's called Tecnu or TECNU. You can look up the company. Again, not a clean product, but it will help get rid of that poison ivy really quick. All right. So this is the chemicals that I use. I just thought about it, the natural chemical. We actually put in a cup of salt. So just, you don't have to use expensive salt. You can just put in like the iodized regular table salt. 1 cup of salt, 1 tablespoon of the white vinegar, and it is 1 tablespoon of dish soap. And you just put that in a gallon of water and then shake that up. All right. I'm glad I was able to remember that for you. I'm sure there's other great recipes as well. Deanna is up next. Dr. Cabral, thanks for sharing your knowledge every day with your podcast and more. At the time of this writing, my son is a little over a year old. He suffers from severe food allergies such as peanut, tree nuts, sesame, and eggs. We're going to start an oral immune therapy this spring to hopefully overcome these. I want to make sure we're doing everything we can to help my son have the best outcome. Are there any tests you recommend? How young can we start the treatments? For background, my son was breastfeeding 4 months and born vaginally. Thank you. Okay. My highest recommendation is this. Your son is just a little over a year. Yeah, that's challenging. That is challenging to run a lot of these labs. However, challenging. It is challenging. But what I would, because I would love for you to do the Candida metabolic and vitamins test, as well as the bacteria and parasite stool test. Really tough with 1-year-olds. We usually wait till 3 years and over. Let me give you a couple tips though, because obviously I want to help. So I love the immune therapy by mouth. I'm really a much bigger advocate than the allergy shots. The allergy shots usually have is it adjuvants? Adjuvants? I forget how the pronunciation of that word. But basically, they have metals in them. And the metals activate the immune system, which then enables them to start to desensitize the mold, the grass, or the food allergies that you're talking about. So there are now companies popping up. I'm going to test some of these out. The problem is I don't have allergies anymore, which is amazing, right? So I'm very grateful about that. So I'm going to find someone either in my team or in my family and have them run some of these labs. So they have at-home lab testing kits now for oral immune desensitization. I highly recommend that. Okay, then I would look to say, does your son have any immune-based issues, maybe stemming from the gut? And maybe you're not able to test for that quite yet, but maybe we use something like the Clean Gut Probiotic, and maybe we just do a half a capsule, once a day. And maybe we see, does that help with the gut over the course of like 4 weeks or so. All right. So at the very least, for a 1-year-old that has bloating or gas, or they've got diaper rash or anything that I've seen to be an issue, we're typically using we're using 2 probiotics, and one's called L. reuteri and the other is B. infantis. And believe it or not, those are actually in the Clean Gut probiotic. All right. Let's move on to Julie's question. Julie says, hi, Dr. Cabral. I've been researching this for a bit and can't find a clear answer to this question. I heard you say on a podcast that we shouldn't take betaine HCL if we have H. pylori, and I'm trying to figure out why. If someone has H. pylori and low stomach acid, but no ulcers or reflux, what would be contraindicative in taking betaine HCL? I know H. pylori doesn't like an environment too acidic and secretes substances to raise the pH in the stomach. Wouldn't it help to counteract this action? Yeah, that's a great question. I know exactly what you're talking about. For people that don't know what H. pylori is very common. I mean, so much of the world has H. pylori. It's actually a bacterial infection that we get from raw, undercooked foods, even salad bars. And so what happens is this bacteria, I teach this actually quite in depth in level 2 of IHP when we go over the bacterial parasite stool test, which tests for H. pylori. So again, if people want to find that lab or all the labs I'm talking about or all of our protocols or what our practice is all about, you can just go to stephencabral.com/shop. That just takes you over to Equalife. It's just a short link. That's all. Because people can't sometimes spell Equalife. I get it. And the website's actually equa.life. There's no .com, and we make things as confusing as possible, right? So stephencabral.com/shop makes it much easier. All right. So the problem is that urease is the enzyme that you're speaking about. So although H. pylori maybe doesn't like an acidic environment, it survives just fine. The problem is that the H. pylori can actually damage the lining of the stomach. And then even normal acid production in the stomach, which you would have like as a normal individual, can create ulcers or mucosal lining damage. So if you have H. pylori, it could lead to stomach ulcers. I think it's like the number 1 cause still, even greater than stress, and mucosal damage lining. So then if you're adding more potential stomach acid, that could then create an ulcer. So that's the reason why we typically don't recommend betaine HCL if someone has H. pylori. So all we do, we'll do the CBO protocol. We'll do the citracetyl drops. Those are just for 3 weeks. And we'll do a product called mastic gum. So CBO protocol, normal CBO protocol. Then we will do or children's CBO protocol, which is what my daughter did. And she did mastic gum for 8 weeks. Didn't work just with 4 weeks. For her, she had to do 8 weeks. I've had H. pylori at least twice that I know of. I use mastic gum as well in the CBO protocol, but that was pre-CBO protocol. This is way back in the day. Luckily I've been doing okay. So that is that. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Thank you. And again, CBO protocol, all of those things can be found at stephencabral.com/shop. One more question today, and it is from Cassandra. Cassandra says, hello, Dr. Cabral. Back in 2021, you did a product review on Methylene Blue. Do you still take it? Would you be willing to do a full case study podcast on its benefits and risk? I'm most interested in understanding the impact on the gut microbiome, healing of mitochondria, increased ATP, and how it improves cognitive function. Are there any daily risks to consumption? Thanks for all you do. Okay. So I talked about Methylene Blue, maybe about like 3 years ago now. And it is not something that I take every day. It is not something that I use actually quite often. And I look at things like this. I actually try to keep my life fairly simple. So it's not that I don't take a lot of nutritional supplements. I do. I take a good amount. But I don't megadose anything. And also although I have no problem with Methylene Blue, I really don't. It is not a foundational product, and it's not even one of my top 1, 2, or 3 tiers. What does that mean? Okay, so I teach this in depth at highperformancehealth.org, which is highperformancehealth.org is dedicated to longevity, anti-aging, and just being the best human you can be. I mean, that's really what it's about. People have very much enjoyed it, and so anyway, you can check it out if it's of interest to you. But It's not even the top three. So even top three tiers. Now, there's a fourth tier as well, and maybe it falls into a fourth tier. That's probably where it would fall. And there's a lot of great products in the fourth tier, but they're not in the top ones. And the reason is that, if we're talking about all of the benefits for mitochondria and methyl donors and so much more, we're really looking at things like the daily nutritional support, omega-3s, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, activated B complex. We're talking about like the core things that your body needs. Your body doesn't necessarily need methylene blue, right? But again, I'm not against it. I have nothing against the company. I've talked about them before and only talked about them. And by the way, on that podcast, I give you all the different benefits. So I would go back, tune into that show, and you'll really see all the benefits there. Okay, now talking about cognitive. Well, there's a product called Daily Brain Support. Daily Brain Support is an amazing product for cognitive-based decline or just improving. So you don't have cognitive-based decline and you actually do sharpen the mind. And it has things like choline, citrulloline, and so much more in there. Coffee bean extract, which is the number one nutrient to increase what's called brain-derived neurotropic factor, BDNF. Number one, nothing better. They tested wild blueberries. They tested all sorts of things. That was it. That was number one. So again, nothing against it. Again, if you want to boost mitochondria, there's so many there's better products as well. There's PQQ, there's just, I could go on and on, right? And so what I'm saying is nothing wrong with the product. Use it if you'd like it. It's just not one of my core foundational health-based supplements. But again, nothing against it. A lot of people like to use it before a workout. Some people do it before sauna, and they very much enjoy it. And that is that. All right. I appreciate you writing in, Cassandra. Same with everybody else. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Tomorrow, I'll be back, as always, with a brand new Mindset and Motivation Monday. Don't miss it. Take care. Keep being amazing. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.